Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned for my weekly reading report. It's time for my weekly reading report, that ever exciting program where I talk about all the stuff that I read last week. And I did read some stuff last week, not nearly as much as I would have liked because the dreadful real world kept intruding. I kept having to go do other things that had nothing to do with sitting around reading books, which is really the only thing I really want to do, Roger, is sit around and read books. Nah, I had to go do a bunch of other stuff, darn it. But I did read a little bit. I read last week. So let's pull out my list for the 500 book challenge. The ever ongoing challenge, the challenge that never ends, where I have to read 500 books that I own before I'll buy any new ones. So I only finished one book last week because I was so darn busy. So book 227 on the challenge is this one, Earthmen and Strangers. It's Earthmen and Strangers, which is an awesome anthology edited by Robert Silverberg, with a very strange Jeff Jones cover on it. But most of Jeff Jones' covers are pretty strange in one way or another, and this one certainly was, where we have this guy in his see-through space suit with dinosaur bones floating around in the background, and I guess this is a spaceship. It's all very symbolic, I'm sure, but I don't know what it symbolizes. But there you go, that's the cover. This has been reprinted a couple times with different covers, I think. Earthmen and Strangers. This one was published in 1968, I think. Yeah, this is the first Dell printing from 1968. So this old vintage paperback is fantastic. If you ever see this lying around, Earthmen and Strangers, pick it up. It's a great anthology. Really, really good. Which shouldn't be a surprise because it's full of authors like Robert Silverberg, Poul Anderson, Isaac Asimov's in here, Aldous Burdery's in here, Harlan Ellison, Arthur C. Clarke. So it's fantastic. It's just a fantastic anthology, and I loved it. And so this is the one book that I finished, all about encounters with Earthmen and aliens. So that is the theme of the anthology. And some of the stories in here were fantastic. Of particular mention is Stranger Station, which was written by Damon Knight, which is just great. It's actually, frankly, terrifying. It's a really, it's kind of a horror story, Stranger Station. It's a science fiction horror story, really creepy. Blind Lightning by Harlan Ellison was an early Harlan Ellison story, and you can tell. But it's really good. It's not quite the kind of thing he would end up writing later. It's more of a straight science fiction story, but it's very much a Harlan Ellison story. Good stuff. Book closed out with Out of the Sun by Arthur C. Clarke, which was really good. So yeah, like I said, if you ever see this lying around, pick it up. It's fantastic, and it is the one book that I finished. I have been reading some other things. I did start this book, The Quest of the Spider, Doc Savage novel, which was the third Doc Savage novel published. I am reading the Doc Savage novels in the order that they were originally published. I decided to do that this year. And I will probably just continue to do that for years because these were published for a while in Doc Savage magazine. And for some reason, even though this was the third Doc Savage story from the third issue of Doc Savage, in this Bantam series, it's number 68. They didn't publish this until the 68th book, when it was actually the third book. Who knows why? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Most of these Doc Savage books are all, you could read them all independently from each other. But it's a little odd. I kind of wonder why they just didn't publish them in order. Who knows? But yeah, it says number 68 on the paperback, but it's actually the third. Doc Savage adventure. And so far, it's really good. I barely started it. I'm only at page 37. But I'll probably finish this today or tomorrow because these things are really short. I think this is 150 pages. Even I should be able to finish that. So, Quest of the Spider, Doc Savage. Doc Savage continues to be awesome. It continues to be awesome. So, it's fun. Good pulp adventure stuff. Doc Savage. So, I am reading that. And I'm reading some comic book stuff. Let's just get that out of the way, the comic book stuff. So I'm reading every issue of the Fantastic Four from the first run of the Fantastic Four, which ran from 1961 up through 1996 when the series was canceled, only to be brought back a month later, I think. A month or 2 months, or whatever it was. It was during that whole Heroes Reborn nonsense. And so I am at, and I'll pull out, for this I'm going to pull out the John Byrne Omnibus, because I just finished this, issue 236, which was the 20th anniversary issue. It cost a whole $1. This cost a whole $1. And this was great. John Byrne did such a wonderful job on the Fantastic Four. And this was a magnificent issue. It was wonderful. I don't always love John Byrne's writing as opposed to his art is always great. But this was a great issue starring Doctor Doom as the villain. So there's Doctor Doom. And it's great. It's just a fantastic issue. Absolutely loved it. The art was great. The story was great. So yeah, I read that. It has a weird backup story from Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, which were actually, actually taken from the cartoon show. Remember the Fantastic Four cartoon where they didn't have the Human Torch in it because they were afraid children would light themselves on fire, and so they replaced the torch with Robbie the robot. It wasn't Robbie. What was his name? I'm always forgetting his name. the robot. But anyway, it was they replaced him with the stupid robot. And yeah. And anyway, it was like storyboards from the cartoon that they turned into a comic book story. I guess just so they could have Stan and Jack in it in the 20th anniversary. So the next issue I have to read is 237. It's Herbie the robot, right? See, my memory's still there. Anyway, this is the next story I've got to read. Issue 237. And be sure to watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. That was actually a pretty good cartoon from what I remember. So that's what I was on. And so I could read the John Byrne stories in the omnibus. But there are a Fantastic Four issues here and there that I can't find in the omnibus. So I have to read them electronically. What happened to my tablet? My goodness, what is it doing? That is strange. Let me try to fix that. Oh my goodness. Don't screw up on me, tablet. Let me see if I turn it off and turn it back on. Okay, now it seems to be working again. That was weird. Anyway, I had to read the annual, Fantastic Four Annual 16 on my tablet because it's not in that omnibus and I don't have it anywhere else. So this is Fantastic Four Annual number 16, which was illustrated by Steve Ditko. Now, Steve Ditko in the 1980s was not doing the same quality work that he did in the 60s. And man, his work on this annual is, it's not his best. The story was written by Ed Hannigan. It's an interesting story about dragon riders from another dimension and this goofy guy who they're trailing. And I mean, this is his version of the Thing. The Thing looks like a goofy frog person. And I get the feeling that this was really just kind of phoned in, this issue, because the artwork is atrocious. The artwork is pretty much atrocious in this issue. It's I mean, yeah, it's not great. So, yeah, I get the feeling that Steve Ditko just didn't give a crap and totally phoned this one in. And he wasn't always bad during the 80s. He wasn't always bad. I remember his ROM issues being pretty good, but maybe I have to take another look at that stuff because this was terrible. It was terrible, the artwork. So Steve Ditko, man, great on Spider-Man in the 60s. So there was that. I'm also slowly going through, at this point, Justice League of America. There was a point, a week or two ago, where I was like spending whole evenings just reading the Justice League. But that's slowed down a bit. So where am I? I am at issue, if I can get to it, I am at issue 52. And at this point, they have Superman and Batman front and center on the covers. So, it's still really good, still being written by Gardner Fox. There was an interesting issue that I read recently, issue number 50, which stars it features a Vietnam veteran, and it has this one scene that kind of surprised me to see in a Justice League issue. Starts off looking very Justice League, but then we got this scene from the war where this American soldier is just slaughtering the enemy soldiers, and it seemed odd. It seemed an odd thing in the Justice League. This is something you would expect in a war comic, this kind of scene of just outright slaughter. But here we have it in the Justice League, and perhaps it was just the time when this issue was done. I am not sure, but that was maybe kind of go, that's interesting. It was a decent issue, though, other than the horrific violence in the beginning. Which, to be frank, I'm usually pretty okay with horrific violence. So there's that, and it's a good thing because I am still reading it, and since the last time we talked, which was the middle of last week or something, I haven't gotten too much farther in it, just because I haven't had a hell of a lot of time. I'm hoping this coming week I have enough time to knock out, if not all of the rest of the book, at least most of it. I'm going to really concentrate on it. I am only on page 750. Chapter 15, The Smoke Hole. That's what I'm up to. This past chapter was pretty fantastic, where Mike shows his photo album and all kinds of crazy, horrific things happen. Still really enjoying this book, I have to say, despite some shortcomings. I think actually the biggest shortcoming of this book for me might just be to me because I hate Richie Tozier, which is one of the main characters of this story, and he's so annoying. Richie Tozier could be the most annoying character ever in a Stephen King book, and that says something because there's been some annoying characters in Stephen King books so far, but Richie Tozier is just the worst. Why can't Pennywise just kill him? I hope he gets killed. I know that's wrong. It's wrong to hope that a child is murdered. Actually, he's an adult at this point. He grows up. It's wrong to hope for one of your heroes to just be slaughtered, but I really do hope somebody kills Richie Tozier. I hope the clown does it because he is just so annoying. And it's understandable when you're a kid and you're annoying, but he's no better when he grows up. He's still annoying when he's an adult. So, yeah, I hope Richie Tozier dies, but he probably won't. He will probably survive. But still enjoying it. So I will talk about more about this when it finally ends. Yeah, still have a ways to go. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I still have to. How long does this edition go? Goes to 1,166 pages. So this is my March mammoth, and it's still marching on. it. Still good. Still good. Still enjoying it. So there's that. And I think that's everything. So not a super long reading report this week. Next week, I'm hoping to read much more, and so it'll be longer. And I also, this past week, didn't have a hell of a lot of time to do videos. So I'm behind on videos. I didn't get my Epic Comic Book Wednesday out. I didn't do the Robert E. Howard show I wanted to do. So I'm hoping to get those things up this week. Sorry. Real life, man. Okay, guys, I will catch you next time.